The California Association of Realtors announced last week a bombshell report for July home prices, home sales, and much, much more. Virtually every single metric they track regarding our housing market here in California fell off a cliff. So in today's video, I'm going to take a deep dive into what we're seeing right now in the California housing market because it's pretty eye-opening. And by the way, this is going to be part one of my two-part video series that I'm going to be doing for the California housing market. I tend to make 2 videos per month regarding the latest trends we're seeing right now in California. And of course, this is part one. And with that said, let's go ahead and dive right into the video here because I'm actually really excited to share this video with you because I actually was really amazed in looking at these downtrends we're seeing right now in the California housing market. So this was announced on the 17th of August when I actually was on vacation here. And the headline reads, rising mortgage rates and affordability is dragging down home prices and of course, home sales in California. And by the way, the median sold price in July in California decreased to $833,000, down 3.5% in one single month, and we're only up 2.8% compared to 1 year ago. And of course, I have some additional details regarding this here later in the video, so stay tuned for that. First, I want to share a quote from the California Association of Realtors president here, Otto Katrina. He stated the following: in the midst of the peak of home buying season, high home prices and rising mortgage rates depress housing affordability to the lowest levels in nearly 15 years. So housing affordability in California is at its lowest levels in 15 years. Actually, I'm going to make a separate video regarding that as well because they actually announced the second quarter housing affordability in California about a week ago. So I'll make a separate video regarding that here in just a little bit. In any case, because of this housing affordability issue we have in California and frankly across the United States right now, this of course dampened home sales in July in California. And here's some slides I want to share with you guys regarding the latest trends we're seeing right now in California, at least for July 2022. Here's the snapshot of our housing market right now. Take a look at this because this is pretty eye-opening. Existing home sales decreased 31.1% compared to July of 2021. So in one single year, home sales decreased by 31%. Also, year to date, we're down almost 14%. But look at this, home prices only increased 2.8% compared to 1 year ago. This is on the lower end of historical averages. I always say that home prices tend to increase in the range of 3 to 6% on average per month. So right now at 2.8%, that's definitely on the lower range and basically moving in the opposite direction right now because home prices have decreased for 2 consecutive months now. The unsold inventory index is at 3.2 months. Look at this, 68.4% increase compared to 1 year ago. Absolutely insane. Again, I have some more details to share regarding this and also home prices here in just a little bit, but a giant gain in their unsold inventory index at 3.2 months. I always say that a more balanced housing market in general, we need to have about 4 to 6 months of a housing supply in order to have a balanced housing market. But what we're seeing right now is a decrease of demand right now and also a giant increase of housing supply, which is causing this inventory index or their month supply to basically skyrocket to 3.2 months. Far higher than the record lows we saw or the near record lows we saw in the early parts of this year. Again, more on that later here. Meanwhile, the days in the market or the median days in the market is at 14 days. Look at that, 75% increase compared to 1 year ago. These are giant increases here. 68% for inventory and 75% for days on the market. Pretty eye-opening stuff right now. So home sales on a seasonally adjusted annualized rate at the current sales pace right now, the annualized number of that is less than 300,000. In fact, it's 295,000 home sales in July 2022. Again, down 31%. But look at this fallout. Ever since basically April this year, the number of home sales had basically been tanking in California. In fact, look at this. We're down actually didn't even see this. Down 14.4% in one single month, which is absolutely insane. I mean, this is basically going straight down right here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens because, I mean, look at historically speaking, in the winter months, home sales tend to decrease. In the summer months and spring months, we tend to have a high amount of home sales. But as you can see, really ever since 2009, we had this kind of ebb and flow of our housing market. We have some seasonality, right? The last half of the year, we tend to have not as many home sales. And we see that every single year, except for 2018, we had a decrease there. That's because mortgage rates increased to about 5% in the last half of the year that caused a housing market downturn in 2018. But I digress. So in 2019, it more or less was flat. 2020 was abnormal year. 2021 very abnormal as well. But look at this, it's absolutely falling off a cliff, which is, we have not seen anything like that since really 2005 and in 2007 really. So I'm not comparing those years to right now, because there's so many different changes right now. We have much more tightening lending standards. For example, back in 2005 and 2006, you basically, if you can breathe into a mirror and see your breath, you can get a loan. It's definitely different now. In any case, just want to compare that because the fallout home sales is still somewhat comparable to the early parts of the Great Recession we had many years ago. Anyways, let's look at this. So home sales had the biggest drop since this pandemic shut down, 31.1% decrease. We haven't seen that since the pandemic shut this housing market down. And really going back to 2010, we haven't seen anything like this giant decrease in home sales compared to 1 year ago. What's really interesting to note here as well is that home sales decreased by double digits in all price segments. This is pretty remarkable because as they've been important to you guys for, 2 years, regarding the latest trends from the California Association of Realtors. They report monthly trends, of course. The more general trend we saw is that we saw a big decrease in houses less than 500,000, or a big decrease in home sales of less than 500,000. And then we saw a giant increase in the upper range for houses over basically 750,000, especially in over $1 million. We saw a giant increase of home sales, especially in the early parts of this pandemic, even the first half of this year, early parts of this year. But that trend has drastically changed though, because in every single price segment they look at, and here's our price segments right here, it has decreased by over 29%, which is pretty remarkable and very much different compared to these other reports I've been sharing with you guys. So the share by price segment, about 25% of all home sales in July were for less than $500,000. About 44% was in the range of $500,000 to basically $1 million. And then also about 31% were for over $1 million. So, more or less on par with last year's numbers here, but a giant decrease in the number of houses that actually have sold. But take a look at this, because if you guys recall, housing supply has increased greatly, but despite that, look at this. Pending home sales decreased by 39.2%. Absolutely mind-blowing on a year-over-year basis here. And we're basically in negative territory ever since the summer, it's the summer months of 2021. We've had less pending home sales compared to 1 year ago, basically ever since the middle of 2021. But this trend line has basically been going straight down, 39.2%. The worst, or the second worst decline since this pandemic shut down this housing market. And that says a lot, as you can see right here. What we're also seeing is this decrease of pendings across all price segments as well. So every single price segment here above had a decrease in pendings compared to 1 year ago, which is pretty astonishing because this has occurred for the past several months now. Every price segment has been decreasing for sales and also pending home sales as well. Okay, let's change gears slightly and talk about home prices in California and these drastically different numbers we're seeing right now here in the state. So the median sold price in July was $833,910, but this is a 3.5% decrease in one single month. Again, home prices only increasing by 2.8% year over year. But as a note right here, in this comment I added right here, the record high was actually set this May. The all-time record high for the median sold price in California was $900,000. So basically in 2 single months, home prices decreased by 7%. So they basically went from $900,000 this May now down to basically $834,000 in July. And now the median sold price here is at the lowest levels in the last 5 months right now. As you can see right here, this fallout in home prices over the past several months now. Meanwhile, condo and townhome prices are at $645,000. That's compared to $600,000 compared to 1 year ago. The first decrease, or the first significant decrease we've seen in many, many months. We're also seeing the price per square foot level off as well. So the price per square foot in California, $413 per square foot, decreased by 2.6% from the previous month. And this average price per square foot in the state has now decreased for 2 consecutive months. Additionally, the average sale to list price ratio is at 100.0%. This is actually on par with the national level as well because on average, home sellers are selling their houses for their asking price, which is also vastly different or much different compared to the previous years here. Because as you can see right here, this is January 2021. So basically ever since January 2021, let's call it February 2021, we've had home sellers getting more than their asking price. It hasn't gone below 100% since 2020. And basically moving in that direction though, because this has basically been going straight down and 1.3% decrease from 1 month ago. And take a look at this because this is pretty eye-opening as well. This is the share of houses selling above their asking price as of July. So right now the share is only 44.4%. But look back, 1, 2, 3 months, that share was 72.8%. Now it's only 44.4%. Again, the percentage of home sales selling above their asking price, only 44.4% compared to these highs we saw over the past couple of years here. It's important to note here that we do have some seasonality in our housing market. So it is entirely normal for home prices and home sales to decrease a bit in the second half of this year. But in my personal opinion, we're seeing some big decreases though, a little bit above what we should expect on a normal level here. But the levels right now at 44.4% is still higher compared to 2019, very close to 2018. And very close also to 2017 as well. I would say slightly above that. But this trend line over the past, 1, 2, 3 consecutive months is declining. So it's going to be interesting to see what August and September looks like. And of course, I'll make separate videos regarding that as well. So let's talk about inventory and active listings in California here. The month supply across the state right now, on average, is at 3.2 months. And as it says here, inventory is returning back to pre-pandemic levels, as you can see right here, basically on par with basically 2015 all the way until 2019. I also made it a note here, or a comment right here, I should say, that this rate at 3.2 months has almost doubled since March of this year. So the trajectory is basically going straight up. We're seeing a lot of home buyers really backing out of this housing market. That's causing inventory to increase. We're also not seeing a giant increase of new listings as well, which is also causing inventory to increase as well. So now inventory has reached its highest levels since late 2019, again at 3.2 months. 1 year ago was only 1.9 months. So active listings, which is the total number of houses for sale across the state, has now reached its highest levels since 2019. It basically has been going straight up ever since basically March or April of this year. It started to kind of level off or kind of stagnate. The acceleration of the increase of active listings has basically been slowing down as of July. So we'll have to see what happens in the last half of this year, but has basically been increasing greatly from the all-time record lows that we basically saw in December and January of this year. And take a look at this because again, this is very much eye-opening. Active listings increased by double digits again, increased by 54.9% from 1 year ago, which is absolutely insane. A little bit less compared to, I believe this was around 70% last month, but still 55% increase in the number of active listings compared to 1 year ago is absolutely insane. This is a much bigger increase percentage-wise year over year than any other month we've seen going back to 2015, with the exception of last month. And as I mentioned, we're not seeing a giant increase of new listings. New listings actually decreased by 7.8% from a year ago. So we basically had 23,324 new listings hitting the market for single-family houses, existing single-family houses, which excludes new houses. So we basically had 23,000 new listings for single-family houses hitting the market in July across the state here. And this is actually less compared to prior months as well, because 1 year ago, we basically had 25,000, same for 2020. And in 2019, we basically had 28,000. And in 2018, we had about 29,000. So the number of new listings is basically less than the past several years. Here's another alarming trend I also want to bring to your attention here. So new active listings exceeded home sales for the 4th consecutive month. This is much different compared to 2020 and 2021. And let me explain that. So in 2020, after this pandemic hit, let's just call it in July 2020, we had more home sales compared to new active listings hitting the market here. And we saw that virtually in every single month, all the way until we basically hit 2022. So basically ever since we hit January 2022, we had more home sales than new active listings. In other words, any house that got listed, virtually any house that got listed, got gobbled up by a home buyer, and that basically depleted active listings. That basically depleted our housing supply. But for 4 consecutive months now, we've had less home sales compared to active listings. And this is again one reason why we're seeing an increase in the total number of housing supply across the state. Here's another slide I definitely want to bring to your attention because in my second video, I talk about how each of the major cities in California and the counties fare because, of course, there's some very big differences here. And so I'm going to be sharing that video as video 2 or the second part video for the California housing market. But I wanted to share this slide with you guys because this is pretty remarkable here. So here's housing supply across all the counties that the California Association of Realtors tracks. Here's the percent change of active listings or housing supply compared to 1 year ago. Look at this. In Yuba County, active listings increased by 170% compared to 1 year ago. Look at this. Merced County also increased over 150%. Over 100% was also in Solano County, Sutter County, Placer, Humboldt, Butte County, Tulare, Mendocino, Riverside County, all increased over 50%. In fact, look at all these counties here where housing supply increased over 50%. I believe it's all these counties right here, right below in this graph here. So a giant increase of housing supply compared to 1 year ago. As I always mention though, every housing market's different though, right? So if you look at the right end of this graphic here, Del Norte, which is in the far north of the state, active listings basically have been depleted, a decrease by 47.7%. We also saw decreases in Plumas County and also in Lassen County, as well as Napa as well, decreasing just a little bit. All right, changing gears again, let's talk about market competitiveness. The days on the market is at 14 days as of July. This is a little bit different compared to 1 year ago. It took about 8 days on average to sell houses in California in July 2021. But this trend line has basically been going up over the past couple of months now. We're also seeing reduced price listings increase greatly as well. So the share of listings with price reductions across the state is at 41.5%. So all the listings right now all the houses that are listed for sale right now, approximately 41.5% of them have already reduced their asking price in order to attract a home buyer. So this is drastically different compared to the past several years now because ever since the first half of this year, I would say the first couple of months this year, that share has basically been skyrocketing. So right now at 41.5%, I believe in January of this year, that share was around 20%, if I'm not mistaken. So the share has been increasing greatly, potentially doubling since the first half of this year, and basically approaching pre-COVID levels as well. So back in 2019, 2018, we had approximately a 40% share of price reductions across the state. And with that said, stay tuned for part 2 of my 2-part video series I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be talking about how each of the cities fared in California because there's some very big differences here. And actually, quite a few cities in California posted a decrease in home prices compared to 1 year ago. So please leave me a comment below with your biggest takeaways from today's video. Also, if you guys got any value of today's video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Hope you guys have an awesome day. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.